Well, good evening, folks, and welcome back to the farm. We're going to start today's video with a math question. If I own 30 sheep and one of them gets out of the fence, how many sheep do I have? If your answer is 29, you've never owned sheep before, because if one gets out, they all get out. So the neighbor just sent me a quick text message, said there's sheep on his lawn, which is funny because the other day I had answered the phone when he called and said, hey, how many sheep are on your lawn? And there wasn't any. So I guess I jinxed it. Now there's two. Now two is more than I want, but we're gonna run over there right now with a bucket of grain and see if we can't coax them back in. I don't know where they would have got out because we've put a lot of focus on our fences this year. Maybe they learned to fly, I guess. So we'll try and get them rounded up here. So yes, the sheep are right over here in the neighbor's yard. And they've somehow made their way through this section of fence here. I don't know where exactly. I got an idea. It might be down this fence line. There's a kind of a dip in the ground. They could have pushed their way through there. But if I want them to come to this side of the fence, I don't want them to come back through the original hole that they got out of, because they've already learned that they can go one way. If I'm there and I teach them it's okay to go the other way, that's essentially reinforcing negative behavior. We can't have that. Simply cannot have that. So I've got the gate open over here. I'm gonna go back to the neighbor's front gate, see if I can't tempt them around with grain. We'll walk them down the road, back into the field that they belong. Hopefully that works.
Come on there, girl. Come on, you too, baby. Come on.
Here, sheep, sheep, sheep. Here, sheep, sheep, sheep. Here, sheep, sheep, sheep. Looks like I left him behind. Here, sheep, sheep, sheep. Come on. Keep coming. Let's go, ladies. I'm going to stop here at the gate, because if I round the corner by the gate and I start going back that way, sheep don't know how to do corners. They got to come all the way to the corner, and then we can go around, and then they'll follow me the rest of the way. Come on, ladies. Let's go. We're on the final leg here now. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. You made it, finally. You stay on this side of the fence, okay? Of course, now everybody else wants to come see what the commotion is about. All right, so everybody's back in. What did we learn throughout all of this? Well, there was a bit of an escapade while you guys weren't on film right here, when I tried to switch the gates in to get the lambs in and keep those sheep down where they were. And what I learned is they'll crawl right through the gate. They have no qualms whatsoever about crawling right through that gate. They got to dislocate their hip or whatever it is. If they think there's a grain treat on the line, they're coming through. But everybody's where they're supposed to be now, thankfully. So, you know, I'm not even mad. I'm really just kind of impressed. But what it does alert me to is that they are done. Even though there's still some grass left in there, it's pretty dry, it's pretty flavorless, and the girls are just like, nah, you know what, we got no part of what's in there, we want no part of what's on the menu. It's time to move. So my big hopes was to get these ladies to stay where they're at until next weekend, and then we move them up to the farmyard. And then that would just be where they are for the winter. But what I'm going to see here is if I have, you know, it wouldn't take me long. Probably an hour. If I have an hour one evening this week, maybe I'll just get them moved up here and get that done and taken care of. But we can't. The challenge is it's too early to introduce them to the breeding rams. And the reason for that is, well, I mean, Carmen's having a baby here in the spring. And we want to be home. Are you climbing the fence? Yeah. We want to be home and have time to settle in before we start worrying about lambing. And it'd be really fantastic is if we had our barn finished before we start worrying about lambing. Which, if we introduce them to the rams now, that's probably not going to happen. The other thing I learned is that cold weather can make a gate shrink. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I installed this fence earlier this year and this gate at the same time with the intent of being able to keep the sheep in this field. Now this gate would close against that gate post and the chain would wrap around it and it would latch. Today, that's not the case. When I try to close that gate, I cannot secure it to that post. There's just not enough chain. I don't know what happened there. if it started to pull back, or if maybe the cold weather, that everything kind of shrunk up. But nevertheless, I'm going to have to get a split link and a couple of extra chain links and add an extension onto this gate chain. Right now, the sheep are all rounded up. It's time for some real news. So I was watching the BBC earlier today, and they are reporting on greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, that's a pretty hot topic lately, hey? So what they're reporting is that livestock for human consumption contribute to 14% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Now, whether you believe that number or you believe a different number is irrelevant. What's factual is if you go on the internet and try to find out what the actual number is, regardless of the website you go to, you're going to find a different number. The highest number I found today was from plantbasednews.org, which is, as you can probably tell, a society of what they call climate healers. And they're making some pretty strong claims that upwards of 87%, at least 87%, sorry, of global greenhouse gas emissions come from livestock. And the reason for that is they say that global deforestation for the purpose of running livestock, running ruminants on previously forested land, is what's actually contributing to the overall number, the overall percentage of total greenhouse gas emissions. Now, believe that or don't believe that. I'm not here to argue science one way or the other. I am here to tell you what you can do individually to contribute to this without having to go to any extremes, without having to believe any of the rhetoric, without any of the nonsense, just the facts. So what you can do today without really a whole pile of effort is start sourcing a lot of your food locally from local farms, local producers like us. There's literally thousands of us out here that are growing food, that it's available for sale directly off the farm. And I tell you what, a lamb chop that's only traveled from here to 7 miles to your house is a lot more environmentally sustainable than a lamb chop that's traveled all the way from New Zealand. That's a fact, right? The other thing you can do, start growing your own fruits and vegetables. Now, maybe you're only going to start with things that are, you can grow and you can consume, things like salad greens. But big picture, root vegetables, things like that. If you learn how to grow them and then learn how to preserve them, wow, man, oh man, you could have fruits and vegetables year round, without having to have any transportation costs whatsoever. They can come right out of your garden, right? And from a no excuses approach, let's be honest, even if you live in a small apartment with a balcony, you can grow most of this stuff, in your front window. Now, the biggest thing you can do, and this really is the elephant in the room, is exotic fruits and vegetables and their consumption out of season. Everybody wants to have pineapple in December. Maybe not pineapple in December, but you get my point, right? Is that we want to have things that we cannot grow here, and we want to have them all year round. Well, those things got to come out of Spain. They got to come out of California. They got to come out of Mexico. They got to come out of Argentina. You think about how many miles a lemon has on it in February in northern Alberta here in Canada. And tell me that you can justify that that's good for the environment because you're eating a plant-based diet. Now, I have no qualms whatsoever if people want to eat a plant-based diet or a meat-based diet or an omnivorous diet. I couldn't give a hoot. But the reality is you can't stand on a pedestal and tell everybody else they're wrong. If what you're doing yourself is largely hypocritical. So speaking of homegrown, you'll remember the little piggies here. I was hoping November 18th to get them a spot at the butcher. They're probably right around that 200-pound mark. I don't know, I can't tell. Just by looking at them, I'm guessing they're right 200, 220-ish. And so we're hoping for the 18th of November. I phoned H&M Meats in Grand Prairie today, and they have a spot on the 8th of November, which is earlier than I expected. But earlier is good because I think they're ready. So at this point, we're just feeding them for the sake of feeding them. Anything they're putting on at this point is now just fat. And so, and I'm having to pack water every day because it's freezing. So it's time. So we've had lots of folks actually ask us if we're going to process these pigs ourselves. And, ultimately that's always a goal, is to be able to raise them, butcher them, and eat them yourselves. But the reality is, no, we will not be butchering these pigs. Couple of reasons for that. I mean, first and foremost, we're really not set up for it. We could probably pull it off with what limited knowledge I have. We could do it. Do we have the equipment to do it? Not really. So, I mean, yeah, you could do it, but you maybe couldn't do a very good job of it. I don't have smokers, I don't have briners, anything like that to be able to cure meats. So we would just essentially just have pork, uncured pork, which is not really what we're looking for. We want that bacon, we want that ham, right? And the other reason for that is, well, our freezer's already full of pork from last year's pig. And so, actually 2 pigs. So if we're gonna keep one of these, the other one's gonna go to our brother-in-law and sister-in-law. If we want to sell any of these cuts of meat, they got to be done by a licensed butcher. But anyways, what it looks like is next weekend we're going to be using the horse trailer to go grab the sheep, bring them up, move them right next door to the pigs here, and then as soon as they're done, I'm just going to swing the trailer around and back up to here and get the pigs loaded on. One thing I definitely learned last year with the pigs was that you can't just back the trailer up and these big fatties are just going to walk right on there. That's not going to happen. There's going to be some round and round, a little bit of a rodeo. You're more than likely going to be able to coax them in there with some food treats. So Sunday morning, I'm not gonna feed them Sunday morning. What I'm going to do is feed them Sunday afternoon in the trailer, and that should be all the incentive they need to actually go in. And then once they're in, the door is going to get closed. They'll have food and water and bedding in there for the night. Monday morning, they're going to the farm. Now last year we took a no waste approach to the pigs, and we kept and processed everything that we possibly could. In fact, we even kept the fat off the pigs. And I wasn't really sure what to do with it, because when you get it back from the butcher, it's literally just a garbage bag. Well, not a garbage bag, but it's like a clear garbage bag full of big sheets of fat, essentially. And I was like, well, what the heck are we supposed to do with this? So what I ended up doing is giving some of it to the dogs as treats, and then I realized I could actually give it to the chickens. The chickens would peck the fat off, and then they would leave the hide, and then the dogs would really like it as a treat, and it actually worked out very well. But this year I want to be a little bit more productive with it. And so what I'm actually going to do is render some of our own lard, and we use that for cooking. And some of that lard I may actually process further into making some soap. So I've been watching a couple videos on making homemade soap on the farm, and lots of people use things like coconut oil, palm oil, almond oil, all these things that are, again, not very, environmentally sustainable, especially when it comes to things like palm oil. But I'm thinking of going back to the old school, what my grandparents would have used to have done back in the day with some lye and some pork fat. Obviously gonna have to add a little scent there. I don't really want bacon smelling soap. I mean, well, you never know. Maybe you would make all kinds of new friends if you smelled like bacon, but no, I think that's a good plan. I think we're gonna give it a shot here this winter. Anyways, pork is not on the menu this evening. We're gonna be having some chicken raised right here on this grass from our chicken tractors, our meat chickens that we raise over the course of the summer. I'm gonna whip up some, I'm not sure yet, something. I've already cooked the chicken. I just gotta figure out what's gonna go with it. It should probably be potatoes and carrots, since that's what grew so well around here this summer. But I'll let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.